tutorial is a fun little transition from a brass sit down through a thread through into an outside leg hang. So make sure you're comfortable with your brass sit and of course your outside leg hang, because those are going to kind of be crucial in this transition. We're going to walk you through it. Something to keep in mind this as you're kind of plotting is whichever brass sit leg you start in, you're going to end up hooking the opposite leg for your outside leg hang. It does mean the pole stays on the same side of your body, but brass sit to outside leg hang, pole will stay on the same side of the body, but the leg that is actually touching the pole will switch. So for this, you're going to want a little elevation, which is a little challenging here with my baby, less than 3 meters, only 8-foot high pole. So you're going to want to get up with a little bit of height because this one does lose a lot of elevation. So we're going to start from our brass sit, and let's talk about the thread through first, which you can do this nice and low to kind of conserve energy. Is from your brass sit, our starting position, I want to make sure that I have enough space between my arm and my leg that my foot can go through, but not so much that it pulls me up, making me lose my contact grip, or by putting my arms too high, it also means I gotta have some serious compression to get that foot through there, okay? So I usually think roughly a hand's width or so-ish, and it's gonna be a little bit different for everyone, because remember, tricks, transitions, different body types, flexibility, size, shapes, proportions, all those things, okay? So a little space, but not too much. Then from here, this outside leg, the way I find, I'll give you a little crotchy view here, is when I go to take this leg through, it helps if I externally rotate it so it can create more space. If I try and just bring my knee to my chest, I run out of space. If instead I turn this knee out slightly and think about trying to bring my knee to the outside of my shoulder as I go through here, now I have more space to get this foot through. Also on that, depending on how your compression strength is, bringing that leg up, and how comfortable you are with your grip strength, you can take a hand off, grab that foot, and guide it through. Okay, so always an option. So from here, once you've got that leg through, really important is the knees are going to cross. So it's not just the ankles. If you just cross your ankles, you're going to end up on the same side and basically in the same move. So you want to make sure that you come through with the knees crossed. Okay, so we start with this brass sit. That leg threads through, my leg goes over my other knee. And then once I'm there, the same hand as the bottom leg or as the inside leg is going to release and go under both legs and reach up and grab. Okay, so when you go to reach up and grab, this is where, like so many pole moves, it's going to be a little different based on length of your arms, size of your thighs, length of your torso, all those things. So where your hand grip ends up, it might not end up the same as mine, and that's okay. I will say on this though, when I reach up with this hand sometimes my legs are in the way and I can't fully lock my fingers closed. Sometimes that hand is just there like this and pushing into the pole until my legs start to move, and then I'm able to lock that thumb down, and secure my grip a little bit more. Okay, so if you do reach through there and you're like, oh, my legs are in the way and I can't fully, don't worry, you're not alone. Sometimes that happens, and then it's just a timing thing of completely closing that grip as the legs exit. Okay, so we've got a brass sit. We've got how to thread that leg through. We've got where to thread that thing through with the knees crossed. Now let's get to the drop down part. So this is something that I find is really important on this. And I'm going to show you a couple of variations on working through this, basically some training wheels so that it feels a little more comfortable in the beginning, right? And of course, like all things, make sure you're working on this safely, either with a mat or with a spotter until you feel comfortable doing it, okay? So initially when we're in this in our brass sit, the pole is kind of on that IT band. But when we drop to a leg hang, where's our contact point? It's got to drop to here. So one of the things that I find is really crucial in making this transition feel smoother and safer is that when I am ready to start to take the legs off, and we'll get to that part in a second here, is that I think of pushing my butt through. So think about when you're in your brass sit, you're here. When I start to transition the next part, I think of pushing my butt through this way so that the pole eventually can get to my side. Okay, so just something to be aware of. I'm kind of pulling with my hands and pushing, like sticking my booty out a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening with the legs from that cross knee thing. This is the part where you're going to want to think about what's going on with your legs maybe before you get up there. Okay, so whichever leg is initially on the pole. I know I mentioned this at the beginning, but now we have twisted up our legs and sometimes we lose track of which leg went where, right? Is whichever leg started on the pole on the brass sit, that is the leg that's going to come off. Okay. Quite often, what tends to happen is everyone wants to take the top leg off because that's the easier one. And not so. Okay. So let's take it up a little bit higher. Once again, my little baby pole, I have to practically smush my head into the ceiling to make sure I have enough elevation for this one. And I still end up with my head pretty much on the floor. Okay. So we go up to our brass sit. Okay. We've got our thread through and our knees are crossed. My same leg as my brass sit, or same hand as my brass sit leg, is going to reach under both legs and grab the pole. I'm going to push my butt, see how it's starting to go to my side? Until my side reaches, my brass leg starts to extend. See how my arm is in the way? Switch, lower that leg, really important because that's your ballast. Then you can drop everything down into the outside leg hang. Okay, so when I demoed it at the beginning, as I took my brass sit leg off, I just took my hand off. I trust it. Some days, questionable, right? Or when we're learning things. So in the beginning stages, when you're transitioning through this and getting comfortable with this transition, as that leg goes to come off, you'll feel it get to the hand and it gets stuck. Okay, you can release and re-grab and then complete the rest of it. Okay, so don't feel like it has to be a whoop free fall. That makes it a little bit more comfortable. But really important is as soon as that leg does clear, drop it down. Don't keep it up towards the ceiling because by dropping it down, it helps push the pole into that sweet spot, which is that grip that we said that we need for that outside leg hang. Okay, so got our brass sit. We got our thread through, crossing our knees. Our inside hand, brass sit side hand, goes up and grabs. The original brass monkey leg extends up, and as it extends up, we push our booty through so the pole starts to get either to our side or at least moving towards our side. Okay, we just want it to start to release from our thigh to get to here. Then either completely releasing the hand, if we're comfortable with that, or letting the hand trade places with the leg and then laying back into that outside leg hang. The arm grab on the pole at the very bottom, totally optional. That's just, frill at the end. Okay, so let's go through it again. Start with that brass sit with a little bit of elevation. Head through the ceiling if you must, almost. So, brass sit. Leg threads through, cross the knees. Hand reaches under. Start to extend that leg, push the butt, re-grab. Drop the leg, slide the hands until that pole gets to that sweet spot in your side, and then lay back into your outside leg hang. And that is our little brass sit, thread through, drop down to an outside leg hang. This one works on spin or static. I would say personally, I probably tend to do it more on static because then you can kind of see what's going on with that thread through, but it 100% works on spin as well. It's not a move that has really affected good or bad by the spin or not spin. So it totally works either way. So play around with this one, try it out. As you start to get comfortable with that hand release and catching that spot, then over time, instead of that leg that leg sneaking through, we go right into the layback at the end, like you'll see in the demo. Alrighty, check it out. Let me know how it goes. As always, send any questions my way.